Time now for Dude and Dork of the Week. We had some really cool candidates for Dude of the Week this week. Guys who have done some really neat charitable endeavors in recent days. But I'm going to go with someone who is just such a unique figure in the game's history and continues to be that unique figure in the game's history. I'm talking, of course, about Ichiro. And if you missed it, Brad Lefton wrote a story in The Athletic about Ichiro pitching at age 50. Yes, pitching at age 50 against a select high school girls baseball team in Japan recently. He was the pitcher. He had a group of friends that he assembled. Daisuke Matsuzaka actually was the shortstop in this game. And the reason why I'm naming Ichiro Dude of the Week, well, I could name him simply for why he was doing this. And the reason he was doing this was to promote high school girls baseball in Japan. That's cool enough. But really, the broader thing for me is how much Ichiro loves the game. And I remember writing right around the time he retired whether he was going to be able to enjoy himself or even function without baseball. This guy lived and breathed baseball. And he has done that just fine, of course. And he's done it in kind of a refreshing way. He still plays the game, still is around the Mariners, still takes everything he can and gives everything he can to the game of baseball. So Ichiro Suzuki, Dude of the Week. Dork of the Week, it's kind of an amorphous thing this week. It's not a person in particular, it's a thing. It is actually the Major League Baseball offseason. And let's take a look at two tweets from fans that I received this week, two of many, by the way, expressing frustration with the pace of the offseason. Here's one. Oh, hey, new MLB offseason moves finally. And if you can't see this, if you're listening on a podcast, it's a tweet with a person who is asleep. All right, the next tweet. Why is the offseason dragging? That one comes from Diane M. She is at Mets, South Florida. Why is the offseason dragging? Because it almost always drags. It is the nature of the baseball offseason. And I mentioned this earlier. People ask all the time, why can't MLB be like the NFL, the NHL, the NBA? And the difference is that those three leagues are salary cap leagues. So essentially, teams know the limits on what they can spend. And it's a zero-sum game. They've got to get the players at certain numbers before other teams get them, or they're going to be shut out. In baseball, with no salary cap, there's no limit. There's no set numbers, nothing like a franchise tag in the NFL or a max contract in the NBA. You can just keep going and going and going. So that's the difference. That's why baseball is the way it is. I have thought over the years that one idea to kind of help things along might be to put a trade deadline at the end of the winter meetings. A trade deadline, not a free agent signing deadline. If you do a free agent signing deadline, the union's going to get upset. They're going to say it's not truly a free market. Like that argument or not, that's the reality of the situation. But a trade deadline, that wouldn't upset the free market, so to speak. In fact, it would probably enhance it because it would clear the decks for teams to go out in free agency later. To this point, baseball hasn't done that. But imagine the winter meetings if we had a trade deadline at the end. It would be a total frenzy. It would be amazing. And we could have that kind of atmosphere at the winter meetings, as I mentioned in the Inside Dish, if the signings start to accelerate. But we've had winter meetings in recent years where it's been really slow, almost a waste of time, because the action came later. Put a trade deadline at the end of this sucker, and you'd have something pretty special.